Have you ever felt the pull of something forbidden, so alluring that even the warnings etched in whispers seem like an invitation? Let me tell you about the village of Sombervale and their obsession. At its heart, hidden beyond thickets that seemed to hiss in agony when touched, thrived a single, impossible flower. They called it the Abyssal Bloom. Its petals were darker than midnight, with subtle glimmers of purple, as though infused with the light of a distant, dying star. They said it blossomed under no sun, no moon, but something far older and far colder. They warned, but no one truly listened. This story is not about the flower itself. No, it's about the women who found it. Clara Ashwood was her name, a botany teacher whose heart beat not for love, but for the pursuit of the exotic, the unknown. Her students would speak with awe of her passion. "There's nothing unworthy of study," she'd say, "not even in the smallest, strangest of things." Word of the Abyssal Bloom found her through a student's offhand remark. At first, she dismissed it. Tales of cursed plants were the domain of folk horror movies or urban legends. And yet, curiosity took root. Just one look, she thought, for science. But curiosity, as you well know, darling, has the sharpest thorns. 2 days later, her boots crunched over the forest floor as villagers warned her incessantly between cups of tea and sidelong glances. "Don't touch it," old Annalise whispered. "Dark roots run deeper than you know." A parable, Clara assumed. A warning to save unwitting souls from poison. Still, the villagers seemed afraid of more than mere botany. "You'll see shadows that aren't yours," a man murmured, closing his shop shutters as if to keep something unseen. Finally, she found it. Or perhaps it found her. The forest opened suddenly, as though nature herself had taken a breath too sharp, and in the epicenter stood the Abyssal Bloom, coiled and still, like a sleeping predator. Clara approached, her breath catching at the sight. The light hit its petals differently, wrong somehow. The shadows it threw spun clockwise when they ought not to have moved at all. She raised a hand cautiously, fingertips trembling inches above. The air was icy, unsettling even though she felt no breeze. She plucked a petal, just one, and froze. Standing over her, gaze sunken and accusing, were silhouettes stitched from the void itself. Their forms rippled unnaturally, like static forcing itself into the outline of a human. Dozens of them, and none of them bore a face. Have you ever survived the weight of being observed? Truly observed? Clara's hands shook, the petals slipping from her grasp to the damp soil beneath. Slowly, methodically, she backed away without making a sound, heart drumming in a futile effort to trigger fight or flight instincts. A cruel joke when neither seemed possible. And yet the shapes followed her, tilting their heads in unison, as if waiting for their cue to act. The stories she'd dismissed swirled vivid in her mind. They weren't merely warnings about botched harvests or toxic flora. The Abyssal Bloom, it turns out, was a door, not just to darkness, but the thing that defines it. By touching something native to the void, Clara had invited its denizens, its keepers, if you will, into our reality. The rest was never about whether she would escape, but what price she would pay. At last, she stumbled from the woods, collapsing before an elder who had already begun shaking his head as if he'd seen this happen far too many times before. Clara spent the following days locked tight in her own home, the shadows now making themselves known in every mirror, every polished surface. Dozens of them, watching, waiting. That was the last true entry in her research diary. Witnesses later claimed she shattered her reflection in an attempt to silence their gazes, but some said this shattered nothing at all. Rather, it simply set them free. The day her house went dark, the villagers lit candles and whispered old incantations into the wind. But those shapes never remained bound to that place. New sightings began to seep in from cities miles away. A new shadow present under lone streetlights, a hand where no limb should have reached. So now, I ask you, listener, would you find the Abyssal Bloom if you could? Would you risk the chance to glimpse something greater, even if greater means disastrous? Or darling, are you already seeing these extra shadows in the corners of your vision? Here with me, even now. Be careful, for curiosity is patient. It asks only for one fleeting glance, just as you've given me. Now don't look away, because who knows if we're entirely alone, even as our time together ends? Sweet dreams, dear heart. Sweet, eternal dreams.